dusty, dim basement, down a hatch in the middle of a tan desert, on a planet long dead and decrepit, the stark, shiny shells of the exiles roam. Your name is the Aimless Renegade. Getting exiled from the Kingdom of Durst is no small matter. Laws in your home city are more like suggestions around which the loose social construct is crafted. Sadly, there are still ways to get people kicked out, ones that you perpetrated. Namely, selling secrets to the enemy. You used to be a stand-up authority regulator, the man who threw people in the clink, not the body that was yourself tossed in. Still, exile suited you fine. You'd always been a lone wolf, living off the land, hunting your food. In fact, just this morning you'd found a nice empty hatch to make your home. Except when you got back home to your dingy hatch, it wasn't empty. "Who the hell are you two?" you demand, looking from one interloper to the other. The one on your left, the Dursite, wields a yardstick with a rusty shard on the end. The other interloper looks familiar, making you pause. "Friend or foe?" demands the short Dursite. "Friend," you say hastily, annoyed. "What about you dickheads? This is my home." "You built this place?" the Prospidian broad says, quirking a brow. "Well, no, but it's still my home." The Dursite puts his stick away, and you spot his sash. "Oh, Mr. Mayor, sorry for getting all worked up," you say hastily. The Prospidian rolls her eyes. "He's not really a mayor," she says. "Bullshit," you say. "He's got a sash. If he wasn't a mayor, how'd he get the sash?" "Exactly," the mayor says, nodding. The Prospidian pinches her temples. "Don't I know you?" you ask, putting a bucket full of cans on the floor. You'd been feeling a sense of déjà vu around her for some time now. "Do I?" Recognition blooms on her face. "Oh, you're that informant, the authority regulator." "Wow, a real authority regulator." The mayor strokes his chin. "Are you interested in a job? I can pay you in cans." "Kind as the offer is, sir, I'm afraid I'm just an aimless renegade these days. Exiled." The two carapaces look at the floor. No doubt they're in the same boat. Sympathy pangs your chest. "Look, there's plenty of space in this joint for the three of us. Plenty of cans, too. Hunted 'em myself." You rattle the bucket of various canned items. "Impressive," says the mayor as you move to your can trove to stow away your gains. "Oh, hell no," you cry, dropping the bucket in anguish. "Somebody came and drank all my cans of Tab. My precious Tab." "That's awful," the mayor says, placing a sympathetic hand on your shoulder. "A Tab thief is as low as a murderer in my book. We'll find the rapscallion who did this." The mayor forlornly surveys the massacred Tab stash. "Are all Dursites this stupid?" the Prospidian says. You remember now, the postminister. "You're in the same boat as us, lady," you say. "Weren't you just some high and mighty bigwig? Fancy postminister delivering stuff to the heroes?" "I guess," PM shrugs. "Now I guess you can just call me the Peregrine Mendicant." "That's, a mouthful," you rub your chin. "What about the pathetic mongrel?" "Just call me PM," she sighs. Before you can rib your white-shelled new friend anymore, there's a deafening noise from outside, the force causing your can stash to topple. The three of you exchange a look one by one, and you leg it upstairs into the dusty desert. "Was that there before?" the mayor asks upon emerging, pointing his finger at the massive cloud of dust settling before the three of you. As the cloud dissipates, a giant crater seems to have opened, in the middle of which is a frog temple. You and the mayor stare with disgust. "Look," PM points skyward. In the sky is a familiar-looking portal. "Looks like Skya sent us a gift," you say. In silent agreement, the three of you skid down the crater towards the base of the temple. Inside is cool, and the base is still a little wet. "Maybe the boys back home are sending the exiles a place to live," you reason, but PM shakes her head. I don't think so, she says. I think it's more likely it's just debris from the medium getting dumped here, just like us. The middle of the temple is a massive cavernous room with a single seed in the center. What's this? The mayor says, prodding the closed bulb with his meter stick. It looks like a time capsule. Skaya has a few of them. They're used to send things through time. PM responds, wiping the dust off the timer readout on the front of the thing. Oh, and this one's about to open. Just like she says, the capsule opens, revealing in its center a small piece of paper written in curly script. Dave, April 13th, 2009. Who the hell is Dave? You ask, quirking a brow. Hold on. PM looks shocked by the meaningless name. From her shawl, she draws a dusty pair of discs labeled with the same name. Dave. I think I'm supposed to deliver these. You and the mayor watch as PM kneels, setting a timer. The bulb of the capsule swallows the disc envelopes and squeezes shut before reopening, empty. Happened! That thing ate your package! The mayor cried, patting down the area where the discs had been. No, PM said, smacking him lightly. I sent them back in time. That's how the capsules work. She points at the readout on the front. Things can either come from the past by the normal way or get to the past. So someone needed those discs on April 13th, you ask. You hate time shenanigans. I guess so. Wherever they are, they're delivered now. PM looks around the rest of the cavernous room. Books and shelves are strewn about, as the trip from Skaya to Earth was likely a bumpy one. The mayor inspects some of the rubble, pulling free a dusty journal. Don't steal journals, PM admonishes, but the mayor isn't swayed, stowing the book away. You figure it's in a leader's best interest to bone up on whatever knowledge he can. Finding no sustenance inside the frog temple, the three of you exit, taking some chairs from within, sitting down around a fire made from the busted splinters of an old desk. Night begins to fall, the sky dotted with innumerable stars. I wonder who that Dave fella is, you muse. PM shrugs, uninterested. You figure that makes sense, given that she's a mail lady and all. The mayor is reading the journal, engrossed. Well, I'm gonna grab myself a can of beans. You guys want anything? You stand, walking back towards the hatch. Tab for me, says the mayor. I don't care, PM says, hastily adding, thanks, though. Looks like your little group is warming up to each other. Back inside the basement lab, you notice that one of the screens is illuminated. It shows a young lady running around what appears to be her house, accompanied by another blue woman. As you watch, your hand presses a large button on the console. The screen goes blank, a different one loading, this time portraying a strange blonde boy in a land of lava. You recognize him from your days on Durst, the Knight of Time. Noticing the keyboard, you type into it curiously. Hey, kid, you say. On screen, the boy hesitates. You hear him say. Another Knight of Time appears nearby.
You okay, dude?
The Orange Knight says.
Yeah, I just heard something in my head, like words.
Hey, you say again.
There it is again.
You hear him say.
I heard hey. Well, answer it, dude,
says the Orange Knight.
Okay, Dave here,
the boy says. You're Dave? You type. You're the person the discs were for?
Discs? I don't know what you're talking about, my guy. Who is this?
This is the aimless renegade. You're Dave, right?
That's what I said. What kind of edgy-ass name is aimless renegade, anyway?
Mind your business, you type, scowling. What a brat. Look, one of my buddies just sent you a package in some kind of crazy time capsule.
They did?
This Dave appears to not know about such a thing, yet it does seem to ring a bell. Yeah, you say impatiently. It said Dave, then April 13th, 2009. What are the discs for? I'm all kind of curious.
I don't know yet,
says Dave.
But I have a hunch.
Found a lot of help you are, you type. Dave flips a middle finger into the air. You roll your eyes.
That explains how Jade got the discs,
he says pensively. The kid's speaking in riddles. Who's Jade now? Whatever. You leave the console, grabbing 3 cans for your pals. You don't need a can opener, of course. Carapaces are plenty hard enough to do that barehanded. Before you leave, however, you notice the corner of the room. A group of 2 transportalizer pads, one labeled A2 and the other labeled B1. Weird. Back outside at your makeshift campsite, you give each compatriot a can, eating the innards. You got beans, the mayor tab, and PM a nice can of cold pasta. A true feast. Do you guys know where those transportalizers lead? You ask. I saw ones with the same labels in the Black Queen's palace one time. Maybe we can get back home with them. And do what? PM asks, her upper lip stained with red pasta sauce. They'd probably just exile us again. The White Queen had a panel like that too, but we'd reappear right behind her. We'd probably get into more trouble. Yeah, plus, the mayor gulps a swallow of tab. Things aren't so bad here. There's you guys after all. Heh, you lean back. Right you are. PM, in spite of her general saltiness, seems to agree. How'd you get exiled anyway? You ask. They found out I was selling secrets to the Prospidians, namely this broad. You point at PM. I got kicked out for failing to deliver a delivery to one of the heroes, PM sighs. It's my first day on the job, too. What about you, Mayor? You ask. The mayor sets down his book, looking at the dusty ground with an expression you can't identify. Well, he coughs. It's complicated. I kind of came here on my own. You did? You lean back, interested. PM remains silent, also curious. You guys got exiled recently, right? The mayor says. So you know what's happening on Skaya. Yeah, but I've been in the clink up until recently. Same here, says PM. The mayor looks pained, sad beyond measure. I came here to save myself, the mayor points out across the sands. You guys were sent here through Skyan portals, right? Right, you say, nodding. Crash landed right near here. Same here, PM repeats. Usually exiles get sent through portals, jettisoned from Prospect or Durst from the planets, but I opened up a portal from on Skaya. You did? You're very curious now. You were fighting the White King on Skaya then? PM shifts. You're suddenly reminded that before exile, you and the mayor were on the opposite sides of a war to PM. It all seems so silly now. No, the mayor shakes his head. I was in charge of a group of rebels. The mayor takes a slow breath. From his expression, you guess things didn't go well. But it all went wrong. I told my men to retreat. But the mayor chokes. You don't have to tell us right now, you say slowly. PM nods in agreement. I'll tell you guys soon, okay? The mayor sighs. It's not that I want to keep secrets, but, well, to make a long story short, I told my comrades to retreat with me, and I was the only one who ended up here alive. You and PM are silent. That's what happens when you fight the kings, she says. Hey, you say. Don't be like that. That shit's behind us. It is behind us, PM agrees. So he should know how foolish he was to fight the kings. To your surprise, the mayor laughs bitterly. The kings were nothing. We turned their armies against them both in a day. We were 100,000 strong, the mayor says, clearly a little offended by PM's assertion. That's impossible, she scoffs. No one can beat the kings. Don't be stupid. If you're so good against them, why is your 100,000 strong army all dead but you? You're shocked. You're not sure if it's because the mayor is your countryman or if PM is just being excessively cruel. It wasn't the kings who did us in, he says quietly. It was the demon, Jack Noir. Silence whistles in the wind around you. Stop telling lies, PM says simply. Jack Noir is the Archagent. He can kill kings, but he's not capable of killing armies. You don't know Jack, then, you say. PM looks at you, shocked. You're not seriously telling me you believe him, she asks, incredulous. You haven't been out of Prospect Prison in a while, have you? Haven't you heard the news? Your voice is bitter now. The mayor looks beyond dejected, but his own horrid trauma tossed in his own face. Are you talking about the missing moon? PM asks. You can't be serious. Jack Noir didn't do that. That's impossible. She sounds desperate now. The Archagent can't... He'd have to have... Story goes he got the Ring of Orbs fourfold and went mad with power. Some say the heroes killed his gang. Whatever the reason, he's on Skya causing mayhem. You point at the mayor. Apologize. PM looks taken aback. She's clearly a jaded person, and you feel like she has her own reasons for that, but you can't excuse her rudeness. She relents, crossing her arms over her grimy shawl. I'm sorry. PM takes a slow breath, and the mayor looks up, shaking his head. It's okay. I didn't want to believe it either. You're astounded at his ease of forgiveness. He's got a bigger heart than you. I guess I just didn't want to believe someone could beat the Monarchs, PM sighs miserably. Because if someone like you could, it means that someone like me should have tried harder. The three of you sit in silence for a long moment. What's the other portal for, then? You ask suddenly, to break the tension. What? PM points to your basement hatch. You mean in there? Yeah, you say. The Queens have portals that say B1, which I guess lead here, but where does the A2 portal go? We could always check, PM says, shrugging. Not like we've got anything better to do around here. The mayor sheepishly speaks up. I'm afraid I don't think we can. You and PM quirk a brow. I think I ate the energy source. The mayor lifts his cloth above his stomach, a faint radiation glow emanating from it. The mayor seriously ate a chunk of uranium. You and PM both laugh, the mayor joining in jovially, having a laugh about this goofball's dietary habits. After a while, the three of you decide to retire for the night. Traipsing back to the basement, you set up some cots and beds using the chairs and planks from inside the frog temple, laying them out in each of the three corners not occupied by the transportalizers you'd discussed before. Night, Mayor, you say, yawning. Night, PM, the mayor says good-naturedly. Hard to believe that earlier had been such an unpleasant discussion. Night, AR, says PM finally, settling down. You're not sure if you can trust these two yet, and you're sure they think the same of you, but out of a newly formed allegiance between exiles, you doze off in peace. This is your life now, and it doesn't feel that bad. Still, something fills you with unease. There are so many questions, so many unanswered things that you can't help but feel entangled in, and it takes you a long time to rest. Sadly, before any of you can sleep for the night, a violent zap jolts you awake, a figure appearing in the unoccupied corner of the room, making the three of you howl in shock, a massive boulder landing in the middle of the placid lake of your peace. As the smoke clears from the transportalizer, a tall, white-shelled figure stands in the middle of the panel beneath. Before you realize who it is, PM lunges for her, tackling her to the ground with a scream. You are now Derek Strider. Some call you Bro. For the last day or so, you've been wandering aimlessly throughout the world of the game, painstakingly cartographing the place. Beneath your feet, your hoverboard sputters. Needs a recharge. You skid to a halt on the surface of the land of wind and shade, hiding your rocket board in a bush, marking a tree nearby with an X using your sword. You trudge up a hill to a hut, decrepit and abandoned, kicking the door in and groaning with effort. You're so tired. You manage to forage some food, but so far you're severely overestimated the availability of sustenance. You suppose you could go into one of the many towns and ask for food, but that goes against your code. In the middle of a shack, there's a rickety table. Good enough. From your pocket, you yank a Slim Jim, the last of your rations, snapping into it with gusto, just like Randy would have wanted. On the table, you lay a sheet of paper and begin to write using a charcoal pen. Time to organize what you've learned. The place you've been transported to is called the Medium, a sphere-shaped, finite pocket in space that lies outside of your old universe, discarded like a frog leaving its eggs. The Medium is held in place by a thin membrane you've taken to calling the membrane. Might as well be straightforward. You draw a large circle on the page. At the center of the membrane is a shining blue planet, covered in black and white checkerboard. Skaya, the nucleus of the whole outfit. You don't know what's on the surface, but you figure it can't be good. Orbiting Skaya are 4 planets. 1, the land of wind and shade, where you are now. It's teal blue and covered in oil. 2nd, the land of light and rain, covered in iridescent oceans, dotted with alabaster islands. 3rd, the land of frost and frogs, a desolate land comprised of frozen forests and a lagoon with frog ruins and a volcano in the middle. And finally, the land of heat and clockwork, where you and Dave ended up. Dave. Your heart suddenly pangs. He's probably cowering somewhere, waiting for his death right now. The thought pains you and you grit your teeth, pushing it from your mind. You did all you could. It's not your fault. He's a failure. The 4 planets circle Skaya slowly, each one the same distance from the center, each about the same size, about 50 miles in diameter. Each one lies about 100 miles or so from Skaya proper. Just outside of the orbit of the 4 planets is a large ring of meteors, about 20 miles out from the planets and 50 miles away from the membrane. You're not sure what they do really, but every once in a while, one of the meteors slowly descends towards Skaya, only to be swallowed up by a portal, almost as if Skaya is catching it. You suspect these portals lead back to Earth. Finally, Prospit and Durs, the 2 city planets. Each one is smaller than the main 4 land planets, about 10 miles in diameter. Prospit, the Gold City, orbits Skaya closely. Its moon, attached to Prospit with a golden chain, orbits Prospit in turn and occasionally dips below Skaya's atmosphere. Durs, on the other hand, is deep purple, and its moon, also attached by a long chain, dips outside of the membrane as it orbits. You're not sure what all this means yet, but it feels good to have a map of the place. You wonder how the other 3 kids are doing. Maybe a map like this could help them out in lieu of a helpful co-player in your brother Dave. You sigh, rolling up the map. You walk back outside, sliding down the hill to your rocket board, checking the amount of fuel it has left. 5% reads the indicator. You suck air through your teeth. You've got enough for one last trip, but you have no clue where to go. Then, suddenly, the decision is made for you. A low rumble sounds in your ears and you look up towards blue sky in the far distance. Oh, shit. You're gonna have to update your map. Prospit's moon, a mere gold speck high above, explodes in a shower of green light. You retrieve your board from the bush, planting your feet as you rocket towards the green dot, teeth gritting. Good thing the membrane has breathable air. About 5 minutes after the initial explosion, you hear a great whizzing behind you. You look back and your eyes widen behind your triangular shades. Meteors. Thousands of them are coming towards Skaya en masse. They're moving slowly enough to dodge with grace, but the mass of them means they're sure to make an impact. One hell of it. No matter how slow they are. You swallow, but you find yourself grinning. Explosions like that aren't accidents, and they sure as hell aren't good. Someone did that. Someone you're going to find. Someone you're going to make pay. Homestuck Alternate Universe is written, produced, and read by Funk McLovin. Additional voices include articulately composed as Mom and Rose Lalonde, Janiyah Riley as Jade and Kanaya, Captain Laser as Jack Noir, and AE as Terezi Pyrope. Art is by Sunny D, and additional credits are by Funk McLovin. Please support Homestuck Alternate Universe by subscribing, liking the video, and leaving a comment. Homestuck AU is also on Patreon at patreon.com/funkmclovin.